Sonic 3 is just around the corner, and Hollywood's posters have fans hyped for Sonic and Shadow's epic showdown. But as a designer and longtime Sonic fan, I couldn't help but wonder, can I make a better Sonic 3 poster than Hollywood? To find out, I put my skills to the test and even showed my final design to a professional poster designer to get his reaction. I started out by developing my scene, and then I noticed that Shadow is literally just floating in midair. Just ignore that, we will fix it. Now, the scene that I am taking inspiration from is this literal split 2-second scene in the trailer where Sonic and Shadow are battling on a very destroyed moon, if I had to guess. I know for a fact this battle is going to hit different in the film, so we are totally grabbing the idea for our poster. As soon as I jumped back into Photoshop ready to execute, I knew seeing this floating shadow and spending a while looking for images was not gonna cut it. So I did what anybody else would do, and I opened up Blender and definitely threw my sanity out the window. See, there's this website called Sketchfab, and on Sketchfab you can get pretty much 3D models of anything you want, which is going to be pretty essential because in order to capture Shadow's aura against Sonic, we have to get the pose right? Unfortunately, the only model of Shadow that I could find is this like semi-movie-fied one, but I definitely had plans later to make sure it didn't look so gamified. We needed to make sure that Shadow's pose really conveyed the idea of Shadow having the high ground over Sonic, especially since in the trailer, no offense to Sonic, it looks like he's getting his handed to him. And after a while, after posing Shadow and making sure that it looked like he was levitating in the air, I'd say we had a pretty solid product to put into the poster. And therefore, it was finally time to start on Sonic himself, which was way easier. I was not expecting to find such a movie-accurate Sonic model, and since we're going to be using the back of his head, I definitely thought this was the way to go. Now, I know that a lot of people are big fans of the floating head styled posters, but I really wanted to see if I could do my spin on a Sonic 3 poster if it was not floating head and more so of a action scene, which is totally why I hopped in Blender and I made sure that we got the poses exactly right, because at the end of the day, that is what is going to make or break this poster. Once Sonic and Shadow were finally rendered, it was finally time to hop back in Photoshop and really make the scene come to life. I should also mention that I haven't seen the film yet, but I am going to see it tomorrow. I have no idea what is going to happen. I know there's a lot of rumors that it's based on Sonic Adventure 2 and there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs, so I can kind of piece together what could be happening. But for now, let me go ahead and run you through the game plan and the concept I'm thinking of. POV. Eggman officially pisses on the moon and chops the moon in half. Sonic and Shadow are then sent to the moon for a reckless battle of, you know, who's the most Sigma. They start duking it out and start throwing punches. Sonic lands a few and Shadow lands a few until the ultimate Sigma is revealed. All of a sudden, all 7 Chaos Emeralds end up in Shadow's possession and he ends up levitating literally like a god. But then Sonic's over here all beaten up, all confused and dazed and confused and all that jazz, and then he gets up and he sees Shadow levitating with all of his aura and he's like, oh pause. That is exactly where our movie poster is going to take place. You guys see the vision, right? I then put the Sonic and Shadow renders in place, but I knew I was going to have to figure out what to do with the Chaos Emeralds sooner rather than later, so I hopped on Envato Elements and found this perfect diamond render. And honestly, it came out perfect. I rendered out a bunch of different angles and I put them all around Shadow. They don't have any color now, but don't worry, we'll fix that. Starting off with creating a solid color layer and painting every single Chaos Emerald their respected color, and we officially had all the Chaos Emeralds right around Shadow. I also went ahead and darkened the entire scene so that I could start painting back light and really making this scene look alive. I went ahead and went with a stormy sky background so that I could make it look most like the movie, and I also added some lava mountains in the back to really set the depth of field. Now, like I mentioned before, the original render that we had of Shadow just really does not look like a live action Shadow. So I really was pondering and questioning my existence until I realized that I would really just have to paint the fur back onto Shadow, slowly but surely. And I really don't think that it looks that bad. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like as detailed as the actual live action Shadow, but since we're going to be plastering a whole bunch of details around him, this is definitely going to do. I also had this really sick idea to make his eyes glow, because what the that is so intimidating. And not to mention, I also added some glows to make sure that the Chaos Emeralds actually look like they're around Shadow, and that pretty much wraps up Shadow's lighting for now. Now, one of the things that Shadow is missing is special effects. We need to get the rocket boots really alive in this scene, because obviously he's not just going to go up and float in midair, he's got to be boosted up in midair. So I went back to Envato Elements and stumbled across this super sick fire asset, so I downloaded it and put it right under Shadow's rocket boots to make it look like there was flames coming out of them. I also made the flames blue to really match the color scheme that we're going for, and it also makes it look like it's more a part of the scene. And to top it all off, I even added some haze lighting on Shadow's intimidating eyes I created, which definitely made the eyes look a little bit tense, which is for sure what this piece needs right now. I went ahead and added some surface shadows to Sonic, and then I spent a lot of time on the background. I did things like create solid color layers and used like red and oranges to really make the depth of field look good, and I spent probably a little too much time making sure that the lava was blended correctly. But you know what they say, Rome was not built in a day. Yeah, I went ahead and added some highlights to Sonic so we could start getting some lighting done on him, but then I realized that Sonic low-key looks a little plain, so I went ham and added a bunch of texture work, and now he's got a ton of battle damage. But at this point, we are super far along and something is missing, so I decided to grab the title treatment from Sonic 3 and put it right where I needed to and work around that. And after adding some smoke and some other cool ambient things in the background, I knew it was finally time for literally my favorite part of making any poster, which is adding things like dust and other detailed effects to make items and decisions we made make more sense in the poster. For example, painting some dust around the Chaos Emeralds to make them look like they are moving, or adding smoke to Shadow and Sonic to really sell the fact that things look hot in this scene. Speaking of which, I also added a ton of ambient smoke on the edges to really look like the smoke is almost curling into the background. I also did things like add smoke behind the mountains to really make it look like there's lava behind that giant rock behind Shadow. At this point, I am so nervous about what the poster designer is going to say about our final design. I feel like we have captured the intense nature of a Shadow versus Sonic fight, but it's still pretty nerve-wracking to imagine what he's going to say. Hopefully we don't get roasted too bad. I made some final adjustments like adding some smoke to Shadow's rocket boots to make it look like they took off from the ground. I then decided to add sparks and particles from my sparks and particles Jesus, man! Like, knock! Sorry I'm late. Please tell me you told these young prodigies about the Frostify shop, please. Yeah, I was getting there until you barged in. Shh. Let Big McHustle take it from here. Let Big McHustle take it from here. Just trust me, okay? Do as I say. Who the hell was that guy? I don't know what he just dropped, but I'm gonna plug it in and see what's up. Have you ever heard of the Sparks and Particles pack? I didn't think so, because Frostify has such a big ego, he thinks he's way more important than he actually is. Whoa, that was completely unnecessary. But let me go ahead and tell you about the Frostify shop anyway. The Frostify shop is a graphic design shop for all of your graphic design and content needs. Started by this idiot, it is filled with tons of things like graphics packs, textures packs, you name it, and it could work with any type of design, including Sonic 3 posters. And by the way, he doesn't know I'm doing this, but make sure to use code McHustle25 for 25% off your first order. Dude, I'm literally right here. I'm right here. Anyways, make sure to grab some products on launch, because if not, I am sure it's going to make Frostify very sad. Isn't it, buddy? Okay, no, you know what? I'm done. I'm sorry. No, please don't. Don't unplug it, please. That is enough of that guy. Let's go ahead and get back into the video. Like I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, I added some particles from my Sparks and Particles pack, and then it was finally time for the Camera Raw. If you are wondering what Camera Raw is, it is essentially a color correction window in Photoshop that allows you to get your colors in line, your contrast, and a whole bunch of other stuff that can take your design from looking like a flat turd to a beautiful looking piece. And with that, this is our final poster, which means it's time for the professional poster designer to judge our work.
So, my name is Jamie Ventura, aka Jamie Designs on all social media. I'm a professional key artist. I focus on the entertainment industry, make the posters you see in the theaters. So first off, I'm gonna be honest, I think the composition is unique. It's not something you see every day. For me personally, that gives it a lot of bonus points. To get into the actual poster itself, I think it looks a little hazy, maybe a little mushy in some parts. That could just be a design choice, but me personally, I would just remove these kind of like red highlights. You can get away with just keeping the sky blue, kind of pulling off like a duo tone of like, hey, like Sonic's in the red, Shadow's in the blue. I like these highlights. They might be a little bright. I'm not too sure. The other thing that's slightly nudging me is the fact that there's like this blur and it goes sharp, but the sunset's also orange, but then this has like a really white light, so I maybe try and get these to blend in more, make it a little more cohesive. The poster is legible and it guides my eye correctly. I think there's just some small things you can do to improve it.
With that being said, with feedback all said and done, Jamie, what do you rate the poster out of 10, and could you see this being used for an actual film?
So I will give the poster a 7.5 out of 10 because the concept is really unique. In terms of can I see it as a poster, I could see the concept being used. Yes, I think it's a strong concept that helps the viewer understand the mood of the film, but I think the composition is definitely what would push this to a professional level concept for sure. JXIME designs on all social media. I make movie posters, alternative posters. I'll catch you out there. Thank you.
You and I have been through a lot today. From creating a Sonic 3 poster from scratch to literally getting interrupted by some dude named Frosty McHustle. We got our stuff rated a 7.5 out of 10, which is insane, but I am not going to be sleeping until I get a 10 out of 10. And you know what that means? Job's not finished.